Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Just wanted to drop a little impromptu video with some upgrades that I've made to the Small Box Miter Sled. Love this sled. I've got to use it on a few projects now, and man, it is so handy. I absolutely love this sled. But I got asked the question, what if we were doing, full spline miters instead of across the grain? We're going a spline where we don't want those to be seen. And I thought about it, and this sled is pretty much all set up to do it. You just need one more little jig. So I made this little prototype. It's really not much. It's just down here on a 45 on this end with a couple of support blocks. Sits over the kerf, and it'll make them. Now I'm going to show you a close-up picture in this, but it comes with a little bit of a caveat. I did not put a flat grind blade in. For the purposes of this test, and I certainly could have cut my spline a little closer, but I think it'll give you the idea. So it worked very well in my prototype, but I think we can do a little better than this little tiny prototype. So some more 3/4 plywood and a little bit of T-track, and we'll go ahead and make a bigger version of this so that we have some clamping ability and that sort of thing. I've also cut some new bigger blocks, and we'll go ahead and cut an area in there for the clamps. And then after we get this all built, I got one more for you that's a nice little add-on to this, and I'll show you that when we're done. So first up, I'm going to go over to the table saw and just cut for these T-tracks. I'm going to put one in like that, and then I'm going to just drop 3 in here to the side, just to give me lots of room for work holding. Now we have to do is the piece of the T-track and install the T-track. So there you see it's in place and actually ready to make a cut on this small piece. This was my sample piece, and it's plenty stable in there, and it lines up with the blade. It's just tough to get this angle on my table saw in this shop. But there's plenty of work holding here for these small parts. I've got a longer clamp on order for here. Because of where it hit, I would have had to literally just notch out the corner of this 45, and I wanted a longer clamp instead. But this just works out fantastically for doing those long spline miters. All right, so there's that spline miter jig. Again, just makes those nice full spline corners like that. It does have one drawback in that it's only really good for a four-sided box. So if you were doing something, say like a flag box or something like that, this won't do that angle for you. Although you could make another one to do that angle. I just don't do enough of them to warrant me making yet another jig that pops right on this box, but the process is exactly the same. So take that for what it's worth. I got one more cool thing to add to this jig. And I made this little template. Now I don't do much turning in the shop, hardly any at all. But I have a build coming up where I was considering turning a segmented circle. So I made this little jig at 22.5 just to make an 8-sided circle. So 22.5 degrees gives you an 8-sided circle. And it literally just drops in, whoops, drops in like this, and it's got a little stop block on the end. So I can find it there. Screw it down, clamp it in place, bring your stock up here, and clamp it in place. Now, I didn't have a stop block for the cuts on this one. I just drew a line on the jig where I wanted it and clamped my stock in place and made my cuts. And I'll show you a couple of pictures here of how those turned out. Just fit together. Man, I thought they turned out great, and with a little bit of sanding, you know, they turned out even better. So I was happy with it for that. And of course, this is for an 8-sided box, so this is 22.5. If you wanted to do more segments, then you just need additional, you know, jigs to go on here in the angles that you want. Now the downside to the sled is I could max out on roughly 2-inch material with this sled because I left this end long, and also the overall width is fairly short. But by leaving this long to account for those 45 miters, I really limit the size of the stock that I can get in here. So that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. I hope you got a little something out of it. 2 little add-ons that just greatly add to the versatility of this little jig. I'm super happy with this jig and happy to have it in the shop. So if you guys build one and come up with some more add-on stuff of your own, please let me know. Leave it down in the comments. My email is in the show notes. My forums would be an awesome place to see this, and I would love to see them. So until next time, guys, take care.